Hello, everybody. Welcome to another show on Tony Moley Adams' YouTube channel. I want to thank you for supporting us this year. The show's a bit short and sharp, and you've been responding to that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, though, because we'll be doing more, but not longer, because we've got the message. Not too long. Tony Adams, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, Steve. And actually, last week we had a scoop. It was your birthday. I've got a scoop today. It's the great Gus Gould's birthday. So our little videos are landing on landmark days, shall we say?
Do you think he's watching? Hello, Gus. How are you? What's happening?
Nah, he's out at coffee.
He's out. Now, this is Midweek Scoops, and your first item this week. Don't forget to read the column at Wide World of Sports NRL, and there's a link in the show notes. And your first item is about a good friend of ours, and like us, a video podcaster and former neighbour of my friend Jimmy Smith, Chad Townsend. What's happening with Chad up at Townsville?
Yeah, look, Chad's taking a bit of a gamble, shall we say. He's coming off contract at the end of this season, but his management has obviously had a chat with Chad, and they've decided they're not going to have any talks as far as his contract goes until about a month into the new season. Now, Chad, he actually had a birthday last week too. He turned 33, might have been the same day as you, I'm not sure. But,
I wish I was still 33.
He's in the veteran stage as far as playing goes, and so it's a bit of a question. Will he still be of value to the Cowboys next season? Will him and his management think they will be, and they intend to prove it on the field, and their plan is to sit down a month into the season. So hopefully for Chad, the Cowboys start well.
This next item you've written is surrounds an area that is very familiar to me. I remember when it was just a cow paddock. Now it's full of houses, Albion Park. And Brad Morkos, who was at the Raiders, there's a sort of complicated story about his release. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And look, he's an interesting character, Brad Morkos, in that he had a good contract with the Raiders for next season. He's 20 years old. He just decided the NRL wasn't for him. So he basically walked away and went to Albion Park, where he's playing with his mates in the local league. Now, Albion Park just happens to be in the heart of Dragons territory, as you know, Steve, and they've just lost Corey Allen for the season. So Morkos would have been an ideal signing for the Dragons, but the Raiders aren't silly, as we know, and in a smart bit of business, they only released Morkos on the condition that he play for Albion Park and no NRL club. So it's another setback for the poor old Dragons, because I'm sure they would have made him a phone call and he would have been an ideal replacement for Corey Allen.
Now, a lot of us would have seen that footage of Adam Reynolds limping off at training. Perhaps, though, not every player gets the same blanket coverage when they have an injury at training. We've got a Manly player who's in a bit of doubt for Vegas.
Yeah, that's right. Tofa Sipley, the big middle forward, he did a pec injury before Christmas. The good news for Manly fans, it wasn't a total tear, and it was in about early December. So they're hoping he'll be right for the start of the season. Touch and go for Vegas at this stage, but you can bet he'll be pulling out all stops to get there. It's one game the players don't want to miss.
Now, the Newcastle Rugby League team in the Premier competition, a lot of people would think they started in 1988. That's not actually right. They started in 1908 before withdrawing and starting their own comp up there in Newcastle. And the original team, they wore the blood and bandages strip. They were called the Newcastle Rebels, and they've been revived. The local country rugby league rep team from Newcastle is now called the Rebels. And you might think that it's full of players you've never heard of, but that's not the case this year, Tony, is it? There's a few big names in the team.
That's right. They're coached by Garth Brennan, the former Knights coach, and they actually won this country championship last year. And when you look at their team this year, I'd love to have some money on them, because probably the highest profile player is the great Blake Ferguson, former Origin star, former Test star. I reckon he's won a comp or two. They've also got Peter Matautia, who's played both in Australia and England. Dylan Pythian, who's played first grade, and Will Smith, who was playing first grade at the Tigers last year. And on top of those 4 players, they've got 11 players who've played New South Wales Cup in the last couple of years. So it's going to be a pretty hot Newcastle team, but it's also good to see these guys putting back into the game, and Country Rugby League getting a bit of a kick along, because as we know, League in the Bush is really struggling these days.
Now, there's a couple of Challenge Cup games here in London this Saturday, Tony, and the Knights NRL media manager, Ross Smart, is in town. We know Ross. And my wife and I have been watching this TV show on Prime, Amazon Prime, called The Night Sky. And the other day, my wife said to me, how's the Night Sky going? And I said, I think he's here next week. It was a bit of a breakdown in communication. So if you're watching, Ross, I'm hoping to see you at the footy. Maybe we can do 2 games this weekend. One kicks off at 2, and one kicks off across town at 5. And Ross actually used to play rugby union at the venue of the second game, and it's a good clubhouse. My dry January, whatever it is gone. It's long gone, so I don't have to stay off the sauce this weekend. So hopefully having a beer there with at Barnes with Ross Smart. When's your first live game of the year, Tony? Is it Las Vegas?
It'll be Vegas, but let me just backtrack a little bit. Are you suggesting Ross is there on a scouting mission for the Knights?
No. Well, he's got his wife and kids with him, so it's either well funded or well disguised, or both. He's been travelling all over Europe, and he arrives. I think he arrives in London on Friday, Australia Day, and he's leaving to go back. I think on the end of the month, 1st of February or something like that. He's got to be back for the new season. Tony, it's been a pleasure. We'll talk again next week.
Always, Steve. Talk then.
Good on you, mate. Bye.